Thank you for your patience. I know I was late, so I apologize, but I'd like to call the Public Safety meeting for July to order. I am Lisa Dorsey, Chair of the committee, and I've got Nick Allen and Sheila Vaccaro with me today. And we will start with the first item, comments, suggestions, petitions by residents in attendance regarding items not on the agenda. Seeing none, we'll move on to the discussion items and the monthly fire department report.
Hello, good evening. Steve Pelna, Fire Chief. A couple items of note, 100 plus calls. We have increased since this time last year. No one call type across the board. We're seeing an increase, so I can't say one thing is happening more than another. We're just seeing it across the board. Our false alarms are down 5%, which is great. So our alarm ordinances in our municipalities are certainly helping with that. We did have a minor fire on the 28th of June in East Bradford in the townhomes. We also had a firefighter injury, unfortunately, on the 27th, the day before, in Birmingham Township. She is still not cleared for duty yet. And speaking about fireworks, we didn't have any firework-related responses around July 4th, around that time. So nothing to report from our end on that side. And something pretty exciting, PIO Dave March is working with the local news stations and putting together a piece on female firefighters in the fire department. So it's really cool. There's a lot of excitement behind that. And we really look forward to the news story that's going to be distributed from that. So should see that in the upcoming weeks or months here. Any questions for me?
I have none.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, Chief. Next item, Chief Moorhead, police report.
Good afternoon. James Moorhead, Chief of Police, with this month's public safety report for the police department. For the month of June, the police department responded to 2,997 calls for service, of which 2,227 of those calls were in the borough. As far as crime trends go, we saw nothing real significant. We're trending lower in serious crime and in nuisance crime compared to this time last year. But we are seeing, even with those low trends, we're seeing slight increases in assaults and thefts. So that falls into the serious crime category, and we're tracking those trends. We're working with the new GIS person with the borough. We're starting to take a look at some software to help us be more predictive in crime mapping. But the officers do see, or we are seeing, an increase in assault and theft cases at the moment. As far as nuisance crime goes, it's down across the board, which is next page. Yeah, all part two, or nuisance crime, is trending down, which is a good thing. A couple things, or one thing in particular to mention, National Night Out, which is where the community and police department, I know Good Fellowship and the fire department will be there as well. We do this in coordination with West Goshen Township. That's going to be held on August 2nd at Henderson High School at 6 p.m. It's a fantastic evening, a lot of activities for community members to come out and meet all the first responders. There's a lot of different food and a dunk tank. If you want to take a shot at it, Ms. Vaccaro, you can come on out. But it's a great event for Westchester's community, always well attended. So again, that's August 2nd at 6 p.m. at Henderson High School, right in the main parking lot at the front of the school. Other than that, the only other thing I have to report is the hiring process continues to move forward. We just finished up the first round of polygraph exams, and we're in the background investigation phase currently, and we expect the mayor to be conducting interviews at the very beginning of August. So hopeful that we might be able to bring some names to full council by mid-August, but we'll see how that goes. Do you have anything for me?
I don't have any questions. Ms. Vaccaro?
Thank you.
Mr. Allen? Thanks, Chief.
All right, thank you.
And the monthly report from Good Fellowship?
Good evening, Chaz Bergen, the EMS Chief from Good Fellowship Ambulance. I'm going to speak to the ops report first, and then Kim Holman's actually going to come up and just follow up from the meetings we've had over the last month or so and kind of progress. So 612 calls total for the month of June, 162 of which were in Westchester Borough. Call volume is average. We're still seeing that, which, as I say, every month backs the hospital volumes. So good news today, the sale of Christiana was completed at Jennersville. So we're hopeful that in the next few months, we'll see an emergency department open there, and that should help some of the burden we're seeing here at our hospital. So nothing really out of the ordinary for June other than the higher volume. This time of year, we typically expect to see a slowdown with the departure of our college neighbors. Not really seeing that so far. And on top of that, a ton of special events. We do a lot of standbys this year or this time of year, 5Ks, stuff like that. So that's all I really have on the ops report, unless you guys have any questions for me.
I don't have any questions. Just wanted to thank you and Good Fellowship for your hospitality
Absolutely.
in June.
June, yep.
Yes, this is July, in June. I really enjoyed the tour and the education about what you do and how you do it and why you do it. So thank you very much.
Excellent. I'll let Kim go and speak to that. So.
Kim Holman, Executive Director from Good Fellowship. I did want to thank the borough. There was a heavy attendance from the borough, including the mayor, so thank you very much for that. Giving you the opportunity to learn and actually see the equipment really does help you kind of encapsulate what we do and why we stand before you and ask for the funding that we do. Came out of those two meetings, the ones on the 16th and the 23rd, we had heavy municipality presence at both of those. And really the push was for a contractual agreement, almost like the borough has with Westchester Fire Department. So the plan moving forward is we're going to take the stakeholders in those contractual kind of setup, and we're going to start talking about that. And really what that does for the borough is help you forecast and put a budget number out there more than just a year at a time. We come to you usually around June and say, this is how much we think we'll need for next year. And really that's not a great way to run a company or for you to run the borough. So we really want to kind of do something in a 3-year, 5-year kind of format so you understand what we're building into, kind of the direction we're going. And the other big part about that is we want the borough as a partner in our organization. We are a community entity. We are a nonprofit that serves the residents. And I think the best partner we could have is the borough in with our organization. We've talked about some subcommittee level things at our board. So there's a lot of options we could do. So really the next step, I think, is kind of delving into the things that came out of those meetings and really vet them and see what we can build together. Questions on that?
I don't have any questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I'm going to move on to discussion item D. And that is consider ordinance to limit the enforcement actions of the Westchester Police Department responding to the U.S. Supreme Court opinion overturning Roe v. Wade. I don't see the council member who put this forward present. Oh, Brian? I can see you there. So I do have a couple of questions for you and really what you're trying to accomplish here.
Sure. So I just received the legal opinion, so I would need to reread that legal opinion before I answer any questions.
I mean, I can tell you what I read in the legal opinion, and basically it comes down to the police being under the guidance or jurisdiction of the mayor, and the council doesn't really have, in our home rule charter, have the authority, if you will, to direct the police. Mr. Metrick, do I have that pretty much correctly? That's what it says in a nutshell. There's a lot
Okay.
more, there's 500 words saying those,
I know.
those five.
I literally just received it right before the meeting started. So I would need to.
So legal opinion aside,
Mhm.
I'm trying to understand the motivation for thinking that we have to do this. Now, I'll let you respond to that before I go any further.
Well, my feeling is that, Radnor Township did pass a very similar ordinance that was prior to the leaked memo. I believe that happened earlier this spring. Unlike Radnor Township, we actually do have a Planned Parenthood in Westchester. And in my belief, and I believe in the belief of others that I've spoken to, police officers, anecdotally, that I have conversations with, as well as women, I don't believe it is in the best interest for police departments, sheriff's departments that we're seeing potentially throughout the country, going after doctors, going after nurses or women that may have just had an abortion, and investigating that as a legal issue. I believe that the police would be well served fighting crime, such as robberies. The police did a great job a couple weeks ago of arresting a drug dealer when they confiscated a weapon as well. I believe that those crimes are more suitable to be investigated rather than a woman who had an abortion or a doctor may have assisted her in that abortion. I think that right now, in this country, after that decision, that unfortunately, this is what's happening in certain states. And I just don't want to see that happen here in Westchester Borough, as I believe, I'm very pro-police. I believe that they would be better suited, and the taxpayers would be better suited for the police department to be going after real criminals and keeping our streets safe.
So I agree with you. And for the record, I'm pro-Roe. But in the state of Pennsylvania, it is still legal, right? We are not one of those trigger states that's put in these very restrictive laws, and we're not prosecuting women for their reproductive rights. And I don't know that we've ever, and granted, the world is a different place than it was in 1973. The world's a different place than it was last year, given some of the things that are happening. But I don't know that we've ever, and maybe the chief can speak to this, had the police had to intervene in Planned Parenthood for any reason. No? Thanks, Chief. I don't know if anyone on the panel has any questions for Mr. McGinnis or any thoughts to share?
I completely understand the legal interpretation that was sent out right before of what I skimmed and the synopsis that I read. I understand that the mayor has to be the one to make the statement here. I do have to share that multiple women reached out to me begging me to do something. And I felt helpless until Brian shared what he did. And I think that the statement that the mayor could make, if she chose to, would be that in Westchester, regardless of what the state decides to do in the long term, in Westchester, we are standing with people who have functioning uteruses, that we are respecting their rights. And we are going to protect the people who need protection using our police force and not persecute people for making their own decisions.
Thank you. So, Mr. Metric, is this something that we need to defer to the mayor's office based on the legal opinion that has been rendered?
Yeah, when Councilperson McGinnis brought this to my attention, we sent it to legal counsel for their opinion, circulated with Vice President and President. And just with any ordinance, we want to get legal opinion on that. And hers was that based on the provisions of the Home Rule Charter and Administrative Code, the mayor would be the proper authority to declare these kinds of directives to the police department. So it's really within the mayor's authority to exercise directives of enforcement to the department. So it's the person in that office's discretion to do so.
And is there anything that council can do at this point? I mean, so an ordinance is not or is an option?
I'll have to ask our solicitor that question in particular.
Okay. Mr. McGinnis, anything?
No.
No.
No, thank you.
Mr. Allen?
Yeah, I mean, obviously I agree with everything that we've been talking about here, but I guess, I mean, Mayor DeBaptiste, I wouldn't want to put you on the spot right now because the legal opinion came out very recently, but I mean, I'd like to encourage you to move forward with this. And if that doesn't happen, I mean, I could see us as council signing a letter as a group to encourage that to happen in the future. Because yeah, anything we can do to protect those who are now more vulnerable, I want to do.
So at this point, Mr. Metric, do we table this and discuss it with the mayor?
Yeah, I think any pending questions, legal questions should go to the solicitor between council and the solicitor, and the other conversations with the mayor can happen. And as an action item for the committee, it could be tabled. In fact,
Okay.
it's under discussion right now, so we don't have any proposed action
Okay, okay,
before the committee tonight.
okay. Thank you, Mr. Metric. Any comments from the audience?
Sue Bain, 726 South Penn Street. Just slightly a different twist on your conversation here. Council knew what this discussion was about. There's no information in the agenda that refers to Radnor, that this went to legal, nothing. So your constituents don't know what this discussion was about. There needs to be more information on the agenda, so we're better informed. We can then have a discussion.
We can certainly discuss that in my tenure, be it short on council. I typically don't see these items like with a lot of information. And again, it was just a discussion point, and I think that there will be more opportunity, Ms. Bain, for conversation with the community.
I'm going to go back a couple of years. This would have been fully fleshed out. It would have said, consider blah, 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 based on blah, 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 blah. You know, there would have been enough history so that if people were interested, they could start looking into it. I mean, to have a discussion amongst 3 or 4 members of council, why are we here? You know, I mean, I'm sorry. And, you know, this is not the first time. It's been ongoing. Redistricting is a great example. It's an ongoing conversation. There's nothing in the agenda that says ongoing conversation. Here's the link to the information.
Well, we can certainly take that feedback back and evaluate how we might be able to provide additional information. All of the meetings are recorded. There have been several, I mean, I don't want to go back and forth. I know there have been several conversations around the redistricting and what it was related to. We've been talking about that probably for 3 months, maybe 4.
Right, I'm not going to come to every meeting, neither is anybody else. I shouldn't have to point out that if the information is provided, then I know if I want to come to a meeting,
Fair enough.
you know?
Thank you. Any other comments on this agenda item? Okay, we're going to move along. Action items for number 4, approve the June 2022 Public Safety and Quality of Life meeting minutes. Ms. Vaccaro, any questions on the minutes? Mr. Allen? Approved. And approve extension of the Gay Street closure to the weekend of September 9th through the 11th on 2022. Any questions?
Approve. I do want to ask, are we definite on that end date?
Yeah, we got a 30-day extension, which takes it through September 24, which I think is a Saturday, which means kind of shoots that weekend in the foot. The weekend prior to that is our restaurant festival, so we're closing the street anyway. So it gives us Labor Day and the weekend of September 9 through 11 to have an extra week of closure, which I think works out nice because we started a week late. So
Can I ask for an update on any further development with the more permanent closure, not closure, agreement with PennDOT? With the, help me.
The swap from Gay to Chestnut, Chestnut to Gay.
yes, the plan to finish that and close the deal was changed at very late hour by our partners at the transportation agency. And so now we have a new plan where all of the work that we've done to create a right-of-way plan and all the documents needed to abandon Gay Street are still applicable. All that work we did is still okay. We can use that to abandon Gay Street. What has happened since we got close to making that happen is that PennDOT would like to formally adopt Matlack through Chestnut Street and designate it as a state route, because to not do that, there would be a discontinuous state route through the borough. We were told 6 to 8 months ago that that was not going to be a problem. The message changed. So we are currently now developing right-of-way plans. We should have the survey done by mid-September, late September. Those plans will be complete. We are moving down the pathway to get that portion of our road system adopted by PennDOT. I'm glad it's
Thank you.
July and not March when I got that news. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the update. Yes, I want to approve this September. Yes.
Okay, so those 2 items are approved. Any other business? All right, meeting adjourned at 5:56. Thank you all.